Welcome to PDP, Prime Development Podcast. Become the leader people will follow. Howdy doody. This is your host, Johnny Bravo. Today we are covering part 3, which is, we're going to go over a financial. I was going to do something a little bit different, but after talking with some friends and some clients and just some people that are going through some tough times in their life, that I wanted to cover this topic specifically. And along with all our other goals that we have, trying to make that step forward, a lot of times, especially when it comes to things that we feel that we are behind on, whether that is our, physical appearance, whether that is money, whether that is we're stuck in a job we hate in our career, whatever it might be, that inadequacy tends to make us feel kind of down and depressed. And I was listening to a fellow entrepreneur talk about this. It was like sometime in the last year, and basically he mentioned 2 different emotions, and it really does make sense. But a lot of times when those inadequacies are there, we have feelings of both depression and or anxiety. And if you break it down, you look at it, anytime that we are in a situation where we feel depressed, okay, we're usually depressed because we are looking at things from the past or our current situation, and it makes us feel down and bad about ourselves. If we have a feeling of anxiety, on the other hand, generally that has nothing to do with the past, but more of the future. And it's us worrying and freaking out about things that we know we have to do, or like today's topic, bills that are coming up, or like our school debt, whatever it might be, but we have to catch up, and we feel like we're behind. We feel like there's so much to do, and just like with the other weeks when I talked about overwhelming feelings, it kind of is along that same category. And just to remember that it is completely normal to have a feeling of anxiety, or feeling down about our current situation or past experiences. But the thing is, doing that, sitting in that moment and having those feelings might be real, but they do nothing as far as moving the ball forward. They just keep us stuck in this down place where we feel overwhelmed and we can't progress the way we want to. So it's good to take note of it. I know what those things are, but one helpful thing for me has always been that when I'm feeling that way, I just have to sit and reevaluate what my goals are. And obviously, everyone has different goals, and you might know what you need to do, and it feels overwhelming to get there. But as long as you know what it is, the next step is just making it very, very specific. What do you know you have to do to get out of that feeling of anxiety of feeling that way? And in terms of anxiety or a feeling of progressing and you have so much to do, I will tell you that part of that feeling might not ever go away, but that is completely fine. You should rest easy knowing that that is a good thing, because if there was nothing that you knew you had to do to better yourself or move forward, you'd be bored. There'd be nothing to do. We the whole idea of perfection is completely possible, but I think the definition of it gets lost to people. It is possible when you view the definition of perfection as continuously making progress every day towards a goal. Because as long as you are making progress and doing what you can do every day, that is perfection. Because anytime you have a goal and you reach it, well, there's going to be a new goal. I mean, from personal experience, I can think of even just my bodybuilding career. I remember coming out of high school as a freshman in college, I weighed 133 pounds. I weighed as much as some of the girls that I was in school with. I mean, to take a toll on somebody's mental state, that was a little bit different for me. And I started along that path. And I knew from a young age exactly kind of what I wanted my body to look like. And I kept trying to find different avenues for that. And it was in college when I started embarking on this bodybuilding journey. And in doing so, I decided I just wanted to gain weight, get more muscle, get bigger. And then after doing that for a little while, then the next step was, okay, now I did this, let's think about doing a bodybuilding show. And I wasn't going to be satisfied doing a show until I felt like I had attained enough muscle to do that, where I could cut down the body fat and be left with something that looked the certain way that I wanted it to, which was not the typical, normal, everyday body that you see, walking around the store or out in public. And in doing that, I made that my focus. And I knew I had a target in mind of doing a bodybuilding show. And from freshman year to my senior year of college, I went from weighing 133 pounds to being 247 pounds. And I had packed on so much weight so fast, but I got to the point and I was like, okay, I have enough, weight here, but it wasn't the look that I wanted. I had some chunk to me, and even though I was intentionally trying to put on weight and gain muscle, I knew that there was the next step to go. And from there, I cut down, did my first show, and then after my first show, I was like, that was originally part of the look that I knew I wanted. And I got a six pack. I was 200 pounds with abs. Like, I had the look I wanted. But if I had nothing else after that, what would I do with that? Like, that was a long goal, a lifelong goal that I had. And I still wanted to achieve this certain look. And after doing my first show, I looked and I'm like, okay, well, I don't like how my legs look. I need to build those up a little bit, get some more definition. I want to fill in my arms a little bit more. And I had more refining to do that I wanted. And I had already reached the goal. But now I needed to go on to the next step. And that's where I'm saying is that if you define perfection as continuous progress every day towards a goal, then you can be satisfied, but you will always have something that you're trying to achieve and trying to attain. So that is completely normal. But if you just stay stuck in that moment of feeling like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do, and that whole idea of paralysis by analysis, you just keep looking at it, you don't move that ball forward, and that's when those feelings start to set in. So another thing that helps me when I'm in those moments is I look back and I say, okay, well, within the last 3, 6, 9 months, what have I done in this area? And I'm like, okay, well, I was able to make this happen, and I'm in a much better place now than I was then. and look at the steps that I did to get to where I am now. And all I do from there is set in motion steps to keep progressing towards that particular goal that I have. And so with this podcast, I wanted to go over steps. I already went over with nutrition, just getting in the water. I went in with fitness, just getting out and moving, right? Now, financially, everybody has a place they want to be. Some people want to save up maybe to start a business. Some people just want to be able to pay off their student loans or their debts. Some people want to, get a fancy mansion or a car, or everybody has a specific financial goal. And looking around and trying to order these steps, originally, I would think, and I'm sure you read this all over the place, but people always recommend to create a budget of some sort, which a budget works. It does. But I think before you set that in motion, the first thing you should do is figure out exactly what your financial goals are to be able to create that budget. Because if you have a budget, you obviously know all the things that are basic that you have to do. There's a certain amount of money that you have to spend on, gas to get to where you're going each month, and, your rent or your mortgage or your bills. But what about the rest of it? What is the most pressing financial goal for you? And figure out what that is, and specifically how much you would need to get there, and then create a timeline based on how soon you would want to get there. And there is no wrong timeline. If you want it to happen quicker, you're going to have to find a way to make that happen. And I think one of the best concepts that I ever was reading about was that if you have a particular financial goal, right, in order to make money, you have to offer some service or product or, work for somebody to make money from your time. Now, most people, if you don't have a very, being an entrepreneur is one thing. That's personally what I do. But I have been working on that for probably 10 years of figuring out exactly what I want to do with my life. And I have something pulling me forward, so I know where to direct my energy in order to make that happen, to where I would get income from that. A lot of people don't have something very specific like that, and that is fine. But what you should do if you're going to make a decision to increase your amount of income, or pick up that second job, or whatever it is you're doing, you want to make sure that you're choosing something that goes hand in hand with the other goals in life that you have in fitness and nutrition and, your career path, relationships. You want something that is going to supplement that rather than something that takes away from it. I mean, even myself, I was doing my business on the side, and I was working some different jobs along the way. And I found that the last one in particular, I was working so many hours for not the equivalent of enough pay, and it was draining me. And I found that I wasn't progressing in my other goals, not because I didn't put the time and effort in, but because to fulfill that financial need, I was doing something that was detracting from myself making any headway towards those other goals. So pick something that goes hand in hand with that. if you have a business idea and you want to be able to have the time so you're not driving to and from work and you're stuck like in an office setting and you literally can't do anything else during the time you're there, look into different jobs where you would work from home, or pick up a side gig on the weekend, or pick up something that if you have a business, pick up something that would teach you some extra added knowledge and fundamentals that you could take and apply to your business as well. So pick something that goes hand in hand with your other goals so that you're able to make headway on everything at the same time along with doing this. And once you've chosen that, or maybe you are getting plenty right now, pick a concrete numbered goal of whatever your financial goal is. And the best advice I got was to save 10% of everything that you make and automatically take and put that into an emergency fund for yourself. Because life happens, you have an unexpected vet bill, or your car breaks down, or just something breaks in your house and you have to fix it. Life happens. So doing that, you automatically take and withdraw that aside. Like the second that you get your money, you put that 10% away. And that way you start building an emergency situation fund. And when I say that, I mean just emergencies. That's not, if you can't make rent that month, it's not for that. If you can't make a payment on something else, those are an income problem, not necessarily an emergency situation. So start that emergency fund and then go ahead and pick out whatever your top financial goal is and allot a certain percentage that you take from your paycheck and put towards that financial goal too. And once you've done that and you have your goal based on whatever your budget allows, save whatever percentage that you can safely do. And that will start pushing you towards that financial goal because you're doing it as an automatic process. So, because a lot of times, things come along, people have goals and stuff that they want to do, and they look at all the steps, it gets overwhelming, and if they, see a really large number and they're like, okay, I just need to make, this much, well, that's great, but what's your plan to save up that amount of money? So start with just taking 10% of what you get for an emergency fund, and whatever else you can allot, even if it's just a couple percent to this other area financially that you're looking at. Start with that, and then you can proceed towards the next step of making, and budgeting everything else out. And I think that concept has helped me the most because it gets you in that mode of saving. Because most people are consumers by nature. So they get money and then they spend it. There's so many people, and they live for the weekend. So, they get paid, all of a sudden the weekend's done and they got nothing left because they went and partied and, went out to the bar and all that stuff. Like, what's your end goal? What's your end game? Because it's really silly if you don't have a plan, because any time that you don't set a plan and to progress towards something, you're setting yourself up for those constant feelings of depression and anxiety because you haven't solidified anything specific that you're working towards. You're just, shooting things into the wind. Like, there's nothing specific. So get that down, work on that, and I will be back next week to talk about career path.